Hello and welcome to Watch Releases Recap for the week of March 21st until March the 28th. This is a weekly YouTube show where I talk about all the newest watches released and some industry news. First, let's begin by talking about the new Doxa SUB 250T GMT models. Doxa diver watches have a very distinct design. When you see one, you instantly recognize it as a Doxa. And this year for 2025, we got a new model with a GMT complication. I think this is the very first GMT in Doxa's catalog in a very long time. So the name of this one is the 250T, and in terms of the case dimensions, it's very reasonable, 40mm diameter by about 10.85 millimeters in case height. Super impressive for a watch with 250 meters of water resistance. This one also features a very short leg-to-leg distance, only about 43 millimeters, so it will fit majority of the wrists just fine. In terms of the movement powering this watch is the Sellita SW330-2. That's the higher grade version of the Sellita movement. It beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and it comes with about 56 hours of power reserve as opposed to the 42 to 38 hours on the base Sellita. In typical Doxa fashion, we have 9 different dial variations to choose from. My favorite is probably the classic orange one. I think that looks very sharp. I also really like how they integrated the GMT style hand into the overall design. Is this fully skeletonized hand, which first of all looks pretty good. Secondly, it's not really gonna block anything on the dial, which is a good thing. In terms of pricing and availability, these are part of the standard catalog. They're not limited editions, and they're priced around $2,500, $2,450 to be exact. I think a very fair price for this type of a watch. The new Maen Jumping Hour limited edition in collaboration with Nico Leonard. Maen is a micro brand that I really like. I actually reviewed one of their triple date calendar watches not that long ago, and I'm pretty impressed with the overall quality. And Nico Leonard is a very popular YouTuber. He does a lot of this type of watch expert reacts to this, watch expert reacts to that type of videos, and in general he has a pretty good sense of humor and he does quite a bit of yelling. This new collaboration looks very interesting because it's not your typical watch. Maen and Nico are giving us something unique, something different at a pretty reasonable price. So in terms of the case and the dimensions, this one is about 34 millimeters in diameter and just under 10 millimeters in case height. It's a barrel shaped case, so it kind of looks a little bit thicker, but I think on a wrist it should wear pretty well. It comes with 50 meters of water resistance. And in terms of the movement powering this watch is the Seagull SD1721, which is a jumping hour hand movement. There are a few different colors of this watch to choose from. My favorite is probably the green one. I think that looks pretty good. However, I do have to say that the cutouts for the minutes especially are a little small. I wonder how easy it would be to actually read this watch. And even though the design of this watch is quite unique, it does share some similarities with this Zenitier watch. But at the same time, there's so many different watches, so many different watch brands. It's almost impossible to create something completely unique, something that looks like nothing else on the market. Now, this will be a limited edition. It's not limited to the number of pieces, but it's limited to the window of pre-orders. So the window will be opened between April 7th and April 13th. That's the only 5 days that you can order this watch. 6 days, sorry, my math is wrong. And in terms of the pricing, this one is priced at 1,000 euro or 999 euro to be exact. Not a bad price, kind of an interesting watch, so well done. The new Breitling Top Time B31 watch collection. Top Time is supposed to be Breitling's more affordable, the introductory level collection. Think of it as the Oyster Perpetual, but in Breitling. And over the years, there were a few different interesting models in this collection. This time we actually got an introduction of Breitling's brand new B31 in-house automatic movement in this collection. And I'm guessing we're going to start seeing this movement in a lot of other collections like the divers and other watches. In terms of these watches specifically, they come with 3 different dial variations. My favorite is probably the blue dial version. I think that looks very sharp. And in terms of dimensions, this is probably the best part. It's very unlike Breitling because the sizing of these watches is super reasonable. It comes in a stainless steel case, 38mm diameter by about 10.3 millimeters in case height, with 100 meters of water resistance. Just over 10.3 millimeters in case height for an automatic watch. Super impressive. And speaking of the movement, this one is the new caliber B31. As I mentioned, it beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It comes with 78 hours of power reserve, and it is a COSC certified movement. There is a lot that I really like about this model. I really like how it looks. I like the option between the strap and the bracelet. However, there's one design element that I'm not so keen on. It's the Cyclops for the date window. I think that looks very odd. It would probably look much better without that Cyclops. I have no idea why they decided to add that element. It's just baffling choice. Really dislike that. On the positive side, I do like the fact that it's a sapphire sandwich, so you get to see this new caliber movement. I think that's a smart choice. I also really like the pricing of these watches. I think they're not too bad. So on the strap, the watch is priced at $5,600 USD, and on the bracelet, it's a few $100s more, $5,900 to be exact. Not bad, and we all know that Breitling watches tend to go on sale pretty soon after the release. I wouldn't be surprised if we see these watches on the gray market next year for maybe $3,000 or something like that. That would be one hell of a deal. The new Formex Essence Ceramica watch collection. Formex is celebrating their 25th anniversary this year, and because of that fact, they're giving us this new skeletonized watch in a fully ceramic case with a fully ceramic bracelet and even a ceramic clasp. I think that's the very first ceramic clasp in the whole watch industry. This watch in a lot of ways is very cool, but in some ways a little puzzling. So first of all, Formex watches, I'm a big fan. I reviewed a couple of their models and they really impressed me with the amount of engineering that goes into every model. These ones here are fairly well sized, 41mm diameter by about 46mm lug-to-lug distance, and they're not very thick at all, at about 11.2mm in case height. They feature 100 meters of water resistance, and as I mentioned, fully ceramic cases with fully ceramic bracelets. Not that long ago, if you wanted a fully ceramic watch, you had to step up to watches in $10,000-$20,000 price category. But nowadays, there are a few watches at around $4,000 or $5,000. There are some Rado watches. Also, there was that Nevada Granchen that was released in a full ceramic case with the full ceramic bracelet. That was like around $2,000. So there are watches in the cheaper category, which I, of course, really like. It's a really good marker of progress where you have these exotic materials coming down in price. In terms of the design of this watch, I'm not a huge fan of skeletonized watches, and I think on this one it looks a little odd. For whatever reason, it doesn't really work for me in terms of its design. The movement powering this one is the Sellita SW200-1. It beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and it comes with about 41 hours of power reserve. There are a few different versions available of this watch. There's the GT version, and there's also these Stardale versions. Between the two, if I had to choose, I would probably choose one of the shade versions, maybe like the blue one or the purple one, because there is a bit of contrast between the skeletonized parts of the watch and the actual markings. It makes it a little easier to read. And in terms of the pricing and availability, this will be a limited edition, 88 pieces for each version, so a very small limited edition. The GT versions are priced at around $4,400 USD, and the other versions are priced at around $4,250 USD. So it's a pretty expensive watch, but at the same time, that's kind of what you expect from a fully ceramic watch with a fully ceramic bracelet and even a fully ceramic clasp. The new Zelos GT watch collection. I actually just did a review of one of the watches from this watch collection. That's actually what I'm wearing on my wrist right now. If you watched the review, you probably know that I'm fairly impressed with these watches, especially the pricing. The value for money here is outstanding. So you get these stainless steel versions. There are 4 different dial variations. You also have these carbon case watches. One of them even features a carbon dial. And these carbon watches are only $450 USD. I actually don't know of another watch company that offers carbon case watches at this price point. In terms of the specs, I think they're very reasonable. 40mm diameter by about 45mm lug-to-lug distance. These watches feature this sort of cushion style case. They're also not overly thick, about 12.5mm in case height, and they offer 100 meters of water resistance. The movement powering these models is the Miyota caliber 9133, with the power reserve indicator. This movement beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and it comes with about 42 hours of power reserve. I think this is a very interesting model from an interesting brand, so well done, Zelos. The new Horage DecaFlux models. Horage is an interesting watch brand. I didn't know too much about them until I started doing some research for this video. So apparently this watch is heavily based on the discontinued Rolex Milgauss, especially with that sort of lightning bolt for the seconds hand. To be fair, I'm not a huge fan of the design of this watch, especially that seconds hand. I think that's a little off-putting, but to each their own, so to say. In terms of the case, this one is pretty reasonable, 40 millimeter diameter by about 9.98 millimeters in case height. And it's powered by the new caliber K3 automatic movement that beats at 25,200 vibrations per hour. It comes with 96 hours of power reserve, and it features a silicone hairspring. So this one should have some very impressive anti-magnetic properties. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight this watch specifically is because this new in-house movement, the caliber K3, will be available for other watch brands to purchase and to put into their own watches. Just to compare it to the Breitling movement that we talked about a few minutes ago, both are these new in-house movements, but this movement has a longer power reserve, plus it features a silicone hairspring with higher anti-magnetic properties. And if this movement remains pretty accurate and reliable long-term, I think it will have a pretty bright future in a watch industry. I can see a lot of watch companies wanting to get their hands on something like that and put a movement like this into their own watches. In terms of this model specifically, it is not a limited edition. It's available with 2 different dial variations, and it's priced at 2,750 Swiss francs. But I think this model here is more of a demonstration of what this movement can do. At least that's the way I read this release. And that's pretty much it for the watches that I wanted to highlight this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more videos like this in the future, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what watch releases stood out to you. I always enjoy reading your comments. By the way, Bond is doing well. He's just sleeping on a couch and I felt bad about waking him up. So that's why he's not in this video physically. He's just in the video on my shirt. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.